Welcome to Environment, Our Responsibility with Calvin. This program looks at the environment in Zimbabwe, how people relate their day-to-day living with their environment, which is important in this life, as we know that our life is nature and it takes a lot to survive from our environment, especially our surroundings. And now, in today's program, we are looking at the destruction of wetlands in Harare Metropolitan Province. Last year, courtesy of the Zimbabwe Union of Journalists, we visited Chitungwiza, where we saw how people are invading, constructing houses on wetlands. But early this year, we have visited Monavale Vlei, which is a protected wetland. But there are also threats from both sides that people in surrounding areas, private players, slowly they are invading the wetland through farming and construction. A report on the current status of Harare's headwater wetlands, prepared by Dr. Rob Cunliffe on behalf of Harare Wetlands Trust, notes that Harare is facing a prolonged water crisis, whereby the city authorities are unable to provide most residents with a safe and reliable water supply. This has forced the main residents to use groundwater, which in turn is leading to declining groundwater levels across the city. The widespread destruction of headwater wetlands is one of the primary causes of this disaster, with an estimated 50% reduction in remaining wetland extent over the period 2008 to 2019. In addition, most remaining wetland areas are now heavily degraded. The headwater wetlands serve as an essential natural infrastructure and play a key role in the delivery of clean water to the downstream water supply dams. In recent decades, development has been allowed to encroach ever deeper into these wetland areas to disastrous effect. This has led to increased runoff, increased incidents
have taken place and continue to take place on the wetlands now. So in 10 years we've destroyed 50% of our wetlands. What is going to happen in the next 10 years? So the question we need to ask ourselves, and it's an uncomfortable question, because really we want to get on with our lives. We want to do what we do. Why are we bothering with this? But it's really important because it's going to impact us individually and collectively very, very, it will be a very, very serious impact because it will impact on our water supply. So we have development plans. The province has development plans. The country has development plans. We are not going to develop without water. The climate is changing. We think this is wonderful. Look, it's starting to rain again. Thank you, John, for bringing us here. and the thing is that what is going to happen to that development, raising the livelihoods of people in Zimbabwe, if we do not look after nature, who supports our activities? So this is a very serious question, and our role as journalists and as civil society is to try and get that level of urgency. It's urgent. We are destroying our wetlands. It's urgent. And that voice, and you need to feel it, and it's just as we feel the pain of those flooded houses, that needs to stop. And year on, it happens again and again and again. It's painful. It could be any of us happening. In Buliriro, Chitungwiza, these areas are going to get more and more. The issue is that we're going to have development all over wetlands, flooding, because the rains are going to be shorter and more intense, and less rain ultimately, and we're going to have no...
Harare is built on an upland plateau watershed area. The natural landscape comprises slightly elevated undulation or ridges separated by intervening broad, shallow grassland depressions. These grasslands, known locally as vleis, comprise headwater wetlands of the Gwebi, Umwinsis, and Manyame drainages, including the Marimba and Mukovis rivers. Collectively, these headwater wetlands comprise the natural infrastructure which collects water and through which it drains downstream to the principal supply dams of the city, Lake Chivera and Lake Manyame. This particular geography of Harare means that any changes in land use within the bulk of the city area will necessarily impact for better or worse on the delivery of clean water and
closer than 30 meters. That needs to be changed. That's an ecological mistake. Do you see what I mean? So a lot of the law, the gaps in the laws, are pushing that they get amended. That's what we're trying to work on. It's the sort of thing we help with because we understand the process. So we do a lot of teaching in here. We have a lot of students that come, the biological scientists come and do transects, and they start measuring all the stuff that's in between, seeing how many plants occur.
Today we visited Monavale Vlei. This is one of the protected wetland area in Harare. Most of them have been invaded by houses. Now we've come here to appreciate and see for ourselves how important are the wetlands in our day-to-day living. As you can see, I'm deep in water. But now, with the continued invasion of wetlands through house construction and farming, experts and academics, they say maybe in 15 to 20 years, Harare will be dry. But this problem will affect many people. As downstream, there will be no water, and water is life. The invasion of wetlands is reversing the effort of environmental conservation in protecting the wetlands and their ecosystems, which feed thousands of insects, birds, and mammals. Insects are critical pollinators of flowers. Birds play a key role in dispersing grass seeds, and giant bullfrog only live in wetlands. Wetlands catch rainwater and prevent runoff and flash flooding and replenish groundwater reserves. Hydrologists say stored water is released slowly into the streams during dry seasons and droughts. Wetlands filter and clean water and act as a natural heat sink, helping to cool the city. Rainwater seeps from the small hills in the city into the wetlands, stored underground, cleaning it as it passes through the plants and soil, and are the main source of water for the streams and the rivers, feeding water into the lakes downstream of the city. Despite efforts by the relevant stakeholders in the fight against the invasion of wetlands, people have continued to invade these wetlands. The report by Dr. Canleaf has noted that the conversion of headwater wetlands to development is being facilitated by the seat of Harare, the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works, plus the Environmental Management Agency and the Minister of Environment, Climate, Tourism and the Hospitality Industry, who act in concert with private sector and state developers and development consultants to facilitate continued construction on wetlands areas. Many developments proceed without necessary authorization. Permits are often issued without following due procedures, and regularized later. Loopholes in legislation are exploited to enable the issuing of the environmental and development permits, and in cases where permits are declined, these decisions are frequently overturned through appeal to the minister.
So the land was never sold. There were all sorts of issues of subdivisions and things like that that never happened. So at that stage there was an agreement to purchase the land, which stood for about 12 years. So the money never changed hands, and the donor used it for something else.
Who was the original?
The people that they're still the owner of the land. The original owner of the land, before they bought it, I don't know who they bought it from, but before that it was owned by the city of Harare, I presume. It was in 1988. It wasn't available for housing. There was land use change. all of these.
Dr. Cunliffe in his report noted the loss of wetlands to development based on analysis of Google Earth imagery from 2019. The remaining extent of wetlands within Harare was estimated at 18,328 hectares, or roughly 21% of the overall area of the city. This is far less than the overall original extent of the wetland ecosystem. It is safe to say that all wetlands in Harare have been reduced in extent to a greater or lesser degree through conversion to development, based on the analysis of Google Earth imagery for 10 wetlands across the city over the period 2007-2008 to 2019. The mean decline in wetland area over this 11-year period was found to be 50%. The Harare Wetlands Trust says EMA needs to be compelled to protect these areas, the wetlands. Thank you for joining me in our today's program, Environment, Our Responsibility with Calvin. Subscribe, like, and follow. Until we meet next time, may God bless you.